congratulations to everybody. This is an honor. You've obviously worked hard and been where you were, and I know what you've been through. So, my congratulations. As the dean said earlier this year, last month, in fact, I had a book come out, Truth in Our Times, and you can imagine that it has been a fascinating few weeks. This is the 26th, I think, 24th, 25th, 26th presentation I've done since the book came out. I've been on TV, I've been on the radio, and all of that's been great. But you sometimes need a 92-year-old friend to keep everything in perspective. And I have a 92-year-old friend named Rusty who sends me emails, and I send her emails. We never met, we just email each other. And I was doing a presentation in Washington with a young reporter named Mike Schmidt, who won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for the Times last year. And Mike interviewed me for a book talk. And it really went well. It really got to make all the points I make in the book about reading with the press and all that. And I thought, what a great thing to send to Rusty when it appeared on C-SPAN. So I sent her the link. And I said, Rusty, I know you really like Mike Schmidt, and I know you really like me. Here's a link to our book talk in Washington where Mike interviewed me. And she wrote back, and I was touched. She said, I'm way ahead of you. I already have seen that. I wish you would have let Mike talk more. Thank you. A narcissistic note here. I was the one who wrote the book. Okay. So I think my duty today, my objective, is I'm supposed to give you some advice about following your dreams. And I'm probably not the best person in the world to do that. When I graduated from here, the kid from Monticello, grew up in the shadow of the university, I came here. And I had a dream. My dream was to write a book. 43 years later, I wrote a book. So this is hardly the story of a guy who relentlessly pursued his dream. So rather than go down the advice path, let me recount a story that I tell in the book, which in my mind really is the way life unfolds, about how we find out who we are and what we're capable of. In October of 2008, I was sitting in my office when I received a call from the newsroom. An editor called me and told me that a reporter named David Rhodes had been kidnapped in Afghanistan, and I should come down to the newsroom. I went down to the newsroom, and there was a group of editors there who were monitoring the situation. David had gone out to an interview with the Taliban commander, and the Taliban commander had stripped him and kidnapped him and 2 of his Afghan aides, the driver and the translator. Somebody said at that meeting, didn't you write the crisis management plan for the company? Which was true. That's kind of what lawyers do. I once wrote a crisis management plan. I wrote it. I put it in a drawer. No one had ever seen it again. And they said, well, I think that means that you're in charge. Now, I don't know how scared David was being held by the Taliban, but had he known I was in charge, he would have been truly frightened because I didn't have a clue as to what to do. So we're talking, and somebody points out that David is writing a book. At the same time, he's writing a book. Maybe we should call his publishing company. I thought this was a great idea. I'll call the publishing company, international company. Let's call them, see what they can tell us. So I step out of the room. I call the general counsel over at the publishing company. I explain that David Rhodes is writing a book for his company, and David Rhodes has been kidnapped. And he says to me, in words I'll never forget, I'm so glad you're involved. We wouldn't know what to do. So for the next 7 months, I worked with David's family and our outside consultants to try to get David and his 2 colleagues back. It is a frustrating time, and every day we get up and we keep trying. We go down to FBI headquarters and watch hostage videos. Nothing seemed to be working. Frustrating, but trying what we could. Then, one June night in 2008, 7 months after David was taken, I'm on my way to a dinner party, and my cell phone rings. It's David's wife, Kristen. And she says to me, David just called my mother. He's escaped, and he needs help. I have many questions at this point, including why would a man who's been held for 7 months call his mother-in-law first thing out of the call? This strikes me. I know kidnappings do things to your mind, but this seems unusual to me. As it turns out, she just happened to be at their apartment and answered the phone. But he had in fact escaped, and he'd gone to a military garrison in Pakistan. And we knew that many times that garrison, while it was run by the Pakistanis, would actually return people to the terrorists, to the Connies, to the Taliban. And so it was very important that we move fast. And so I got in a cab to head downtown to lower Manhattan to be with David's wife and the rest of the family, and so we could coordinate our efforts, trying to get the U.S. government to help us, try to do something to get David rescued from the garrison, from the outpost. And I'm on my cell phone, and I get through to our embassy in Kabul, 4 or 5 in the morning there. But somebody finally comes to the phone, and I could tell he was one of those bureaucrats with a checklist. Okay, what's your name? What's David's name? What's the mother-in-law's name? He didn't ask me why did he call the mother-in-law. So and he started running through this series of questions. And then he says, rest assured, Mr. McCraw, we will do nothing to stand in the way of your operation. I'm a First Amendment lawyer. I'm in a cab on the west side of New York. I once wrote a crisis management plan which no one in the world had ever read. I don't have an operation right now. I need you to have an operation. He went off to find an operation. I never heard from him again. But we were successful that night. We worked with our government. We worked with the Pakistani government. We worked with the Afghan government. In a heroic effort, the Pakistani military went in to the garrison by helicopter, got David and his colleague out, and brought them home, and he was able to come home safely. And I thought a lot about that story when I was writing the book, because actually, when I wasn't writing the book, because I was terrified. I'd signed a book contract with Macmillan to write a book, which I told them would be a somewhat funny book about the First Amendment. Somehow they decided to sign me up to write that book, even though lawyers are not supposed to do sometimes funny books. And it was going to be a book about what the First Amendment meant day by day in the lives of journalists. And I thought it was an important story to tell, not to tell a story for lawyers, not to tell, but to tell a story that happened at the ground level for people who should, and I hope will, see the importance of the First Amendment in the life of journalism. But I was frozen. I didn't know how to proceed. And so I did what many of you probably are doing now, and that is I sought advice, and I got a lot of advice. Most of it was completely worthless, like most of the right advice you'll get, but you'll be kinder than I was and not roll your eyes when you get it. I was advised by people who had written books. I got advice from people who had never written books. I got advice from people who I suspected had never read a book, telling me how to write a book. The advice ranged all over. There was somebody who told me, it's just a math exercise, David. Write 3,000 words a day, and at the end of the month, you have a book. And I tell you, at some point when I was writing, I did do it like that, like a video game. I hit the tool button at the end of the evening. I would look, 3,000 words, yes, give myself a high five. Other people came up with really good suggestions, like I should have somebody else write the book. I liked that one, but I didn't think my publisher would be that happy about that. So finally, I met with a writer by the name of Bob Daly. Bob is in his 80s. He's written 33 books. I was very reluctant to talk to him. I couldn't write a single book, and this guy had written 33. But he really wanted to talk to me about writing a book. We sat down, and Bob said the following to me. He said, "Are you terrified?" I said, "Completely terrified." He says, "Good. That's a good sign. That means you're ready to be a writer." Okay? And he says, "Have you thought about sending the advance now?" I said, "Well, I was just researching that this morning. I'm doing some legal research on whether I can do that." And then he said, "Write 20 pages. And the 21st page will call you." I had no idea what that meant. But I thought about it, and he was right. That often what stands between you and your dream is often you. The you who underestimates what you're capable of, who's filled with doubt, who shrinks from challenge. In the end, self-confidence and a belief in yourself doesn't come from pep talks or advice filled out at events like this by people like me. It comes from doing. taking chances and seeing for yourself what you are capable of achieving. I thought the goal was not to have fear. I was wrong. The goal is to move ahead despite fear. And that is why those 20 pages are so important. Whatever your 20 pages are as you begin to pursue your careers, whatever that is a metaphor for, that's what you need, 20 pages. You begin, and you will surprise yourself. I did. I wrote those 20 pages, and then I wrote some more. And a few months later, I had a book. Yes, my dream. 43 years after the fact, here it was, the dream. That's the other thing that you should remember about all of your dreams. They don't really go away. It still feels great when you get there. No matter how long it takes you, no matter how much frustration there was, no matter how many diversions you take, it still feels great. And that may be the most surprising thing you'll ever learn about yourself. And it's worth learning. Thank you very much.